Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are coming across this message, God bless you in the precious name of Jesus. Please, I would like us to discuss this morning, how do you relate with disabled individuals around you? How do you treat the disabled individual? How do you regard the physical disabled individual? People that are with disabilities in any areas of their life, how do you relate with them? How do you treat them? I would like us to know that disability can be described as an individual with physical limitations. It can also be a condition which can stop one from moving, working, and performing some daily tasks by himself. Disability is a limitation in the life of a certain individual that can stop him from moving, it can stop him from working, it can stop him from doing daily activities by himself. But I would like us to know that looking at these pictures in this message, you see diverse of disability, sicknesses in the life of certain individuals. Looking at these pictures, you will see diverse sicknesses, you will see diverse disability in their life. But no matter the disability that any individual might be challenged with, I would like us to know this morning that there is always ability in any disability. There is always ability. What is the reason of this message this morning? The reason of this message is to know that we should treat them just as we treat any normal human being. We should regard them, we should relate to them just as we relate to any normal human being, no matter the disability, no matter the challenge that person is going through, no matter the disability in that individual. God wants us to treat them just as we might treat any other individual around us. That is the reason of this message. Regard them just as you regard any other individual around you, no matter the disability, no matter how disformed they are, no matter how disabled you might look at them, there is always ability in them. God does not create anyone without a potential. There is always potential in the life of every individual, no matter the disability challenge in that individual. So God wants us to treat them as being normal, as being the same as any other individual we might see around us. God wants us to treat them like ourselves. God wants us to relate to them like we might be wanting people to relate to us. That is the reason of this message. And I see God helping you as you do that. God will bless you in return as you see them just as the way you see other human beings, disabled individuals, people with disabilities. God wants us to relate with them just as we might relate to other individuals around us. And God will bless us in return in the precious name of Jesus. In this message, we are going to be looking on the case of Naaman. The case of Naaman. Naaman was a man from the city of Syria. Remember the story of Naaman. Naaman was a leper. He was a man with leprosy. Naaman was a leprosy man, but yet he has qualities in him. He has qualities in him. That is why we said in every disability, there is always ability. There is always ability in every disability. In the book of 2 Kings 5 verse 1 to 17, we are told of the story of a man called Naaman. Naaman was a man from the city of Syria. Naaman was a leper, but yet he was a great man. He was a man of honor. He was a man of dignity. He was a man that the Bible recorded as a mighty man of valor. He was a mighty man, despite being a leper. So in every disability, there is always ability. God wants us to relate to them as we might want people to relate with us. And as we do that, God will bless us in return in the precious name of Jesus. Naaman the Syrian, Naaman was honorable. Why? Because by him, the Lord delivered the city of Syria from his enemy, from their enemies. God delivered the city of Syria from the enemy through Naaman, a leper, a disabled man. a man that people would have been running out from, a man that people would have been dishonoring because of his leprosy. But yet Naaman was not dishonored. Naaman was not dishonored. People did not disdain him. People did not turn away from him because of his condition. So in every disability, there is always ability. God wants us to see them just as we might see other human beings around us, in the precious name of Jesus. In the case of this Naaman, Naaman was a mighty man in valor. Consider the fact of Naaman. When we start studying from the book of 2 Kings 5, from verse 1, you will notice that Naaman's greatness, Naaman's ability was first of all seen before his ability. Naaman's ability was first of all seen before his ability. Some of us today, when you see anybody that is with disability, you begin to describe that person with the condition that the person is going through. No, but in this case of Naaman's ability was seen before his ability was noticed. Naaman's ability was seen. So God wants us to treat every human being just as important as we might treat ourselves. Now Naaman, captain of the host of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master and honorable, because by him the Lord has given deliverance unto Syria. He was also a mighty man in valor. Consider the part of this Naaman. Consider his life. People began to see Naaman as a great man. They did not first of all begin to regard him as a man of leper. His greatness was first of all seen. His quality. He was a captain. Naaman was a great man. He was a man that is with honor. He was a mighty man in valor. Before Naaman's disability was mentioned, Naaman's ability has been seen. So in any disability, there is always ability. There is always ability. He was also a mighty man in valor, but he was a leper. After his ability was mentioned, then his disability came in. But sometimes today, some of us, we see people that are disabled. You begin to describe them with their condition. You forget that there is always ability in any disability. So God wants us to treat every human being just as we might want people to treat us, just as we might want people to guide us. In this case of Naaman, his ability was first of all seen. He's a captain. He's a great man. He's honorable. He's mighty man in valor. Before he was said to be a leper, there is a ability in him. There is an ability in him before the disability was seen. So it is very good for us to always regard, no matter the disability the person is going through, always know that there is ability in that person. There is ability. There is a potential in such person, no matter the disability, no matter the challenge. Always know that there is potential in such person, and God can help us to be a vessel in their life that God will use to foster those abilities in them, thereby terminating the disabilities in them. I see God helping us in the precious name of Jesus. God will make us to be a vessel that should be used in order to foster out those abilities in them that will terminate the disability in them. Because Naaman's ability was first of all seen. He was a mighty man in valor. He was used to deliver the city of Syria. If Naaman's disability was guided the first time, he might not be able to perform his ability. But first of all, his ability was seen. Thereby terminating the disability in him. That he was a leper does not mean that he doesn't have a potential in him. Naaman was sent to be a deliverer to the city of Syria. I see God helping us to consider those ones that are disabled, to see that there is ability in them, not only seeing the disability in them. God will bless us in return in the precious name of Jesus. Before his disability mentioned, his ability has been seen. So before you go about mentioning the disability of any individual that are disabled, first of all, think of the ability that are in them. There is potentials in them. And I see God helping us in the mighty name of Jesus. Naaman, despite being a leper, was not was not without a quality, despite being a leper. He wasn't without a quality. There is always ability in any disabled individual. So no matter how disabled anyone is, we need to approach them with respect and fair treatment. In the book of 2 Kings 5 verse 1 to 17, where we have just read now, Naaman was not only disabled, he has a qualities in him that make him a deliverer, that make him to deliver the city of Syria. I see God helping us in the precious name of Jesus. Though God restores the body of Naaman like that of a little born baby, because he obeyed the order of Elisha. He obeyed. God's healing is always available to us whenever we see God in the light place and with light motive. Whenever we see God in a light place and with a light motive, God deliverance and healing is always available. In the case of this Naaman, because Naaman is our case study in this message. Naaman is our case study. We are using him as a case study because he was a leper, yet he has ability. Yet he was a deliverer. Yet he was a captain. Yet he was a mighty man in valor. Yet he was honorable. That is why we are using him as a case study. And I see God helping us to treat them light. God will help us to relate light with them. God will help us to foster the greatness in the life of any disabled individual that we might come across in the journey of life, in the precious name of Jesus. In the case of this Naaman, he was still honored and gained favor from his people. Despite being a leper, his people honored him. The people of Syria honored him. He gained favor from them. Despite being a leper, God will help us to favor any disabled individual around us, to foster the greatness in them. There are potentials in them. God did not create anyone without potential. God creates everyone with potential. There is potentials in them. Whenever we foster it out, God will bless us in return in the precious name of Jesus. God wants us to treat everyone as being important. That is the reason of this message. God wants us to treat everyone as being important, no matter how disabled that individual might be. No matter how disabled that individual might be, God wants us to treat everyone as being important. And he also wants us to always acknowledge the omnipotency and mightiness of God in our life, as the king of Israel did. When we begin to study it from that verse 1 to 17, the king of Israel, when Naaman was sent to him, he asked, am I God that they are sending me to this man? The king is sending me to this man to cleanse him of his leprosy. Am I God? So the king of Israel was able to recognize the place of God in every need of life. So no matter whatever God is using us to do, no matter how we think we are, let us always recognize the place of God in our life. Let us always recognize the place of God. Let us not take glory to ourselves, because God alone will be the one to receive the glory. Whenever we recognize the place of God in our life, he will continue to do great things in our life, in the mighty name of Jesus. Don't neglect the place of prophet upon your life, no matter how spiritual you think you are. When Naaman was asked to go to Elisha, he came to Elisha and he was like, I thought you would just come out and lay your hand on my body where the leprosy was. I thought you would just come out. But God has a way of healing diverse sicknesses. That is the need why we needed prophets. No matter how great, no matter how spiritual you think you are, there is always need for you to have a prophet that you recognize, a prophet that you will guide in your life. And I see God helping us in the precious name of Jesus. Now, how do we need to communicate with these disabled individuals? How do we communicate with them? We should speak to them as we would speak to any other human being. We should speak to them, the disabled individual. We need to speak to them. We need to communicate with them just as the way we might communicate with any other individual. Just as the way we might want people to communicate with us. The way you might want people to treat you, that is the way you should treat them. That is the way you should communicate with them. If a person